evening, everyone. Welcome. I'm Cantor Lori Walensky-Frank, and I welcome you to our singer-songwriter event concert series highlighting hit songwriters performing their songs and telling stories about what inspired them and how their songs came to be. Now, many of you have probably seen me holding these wonderful things in front of me. We are raffling off, as this is a fundraiser, we are raffling off 2 sets of red and white wine that are custom labeled for this very occasion as a memento, for $5 for 1 raffle ticket and for $20 for 5 raffle tickets. You have a chance, and there's 2 sets, so the odds are very good, of winning the bottle of white, I Don't Have the Heart to Drink Without You, hit song, second hit song, I Run to You, You Have Wine. These can be yours, and as I said, you get a set of white and red together, and you can see Tracy, and, oh, what? In the back. So, before you leave tonight, we will be pulling the numbers at the end of the concert tonight. So, if you are inclined to take these wonderful things home, signed by our artists today. Okay, so without further ado, tonight we are thrilled to present hit songwriters and award-winning composers Allan Rich and Jud Friedman. Although their names may not be familiar, their incredible body of work is recognizable to each and every one of us. Jud Friedman grew up in New York and Connecticut, and while attending Yale and Harvard Law School, he played in, yes, Yale and Harvard, I did say that. He played in various bands, wrote songs, and performed in musical theater. Despite success as a performer in New York City, he moved to Los Angeles and concentrated on a songwriting and producing career. Jud has written many #1 hits with his songwriting partner, Allan Rich, such as I Don't Have the Heart by James Ingram and Run to You, recorded by Whitney Houston for her film The Bodyguard. Run to You was nominated for an Oscar and a Grammy. Jud earned another Oscar and Grammy and also a Golden Globe nomination for the song For the First Time, performed by Kenny Loggins for the film One Fine Day with, who remembers, Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney. Jud has worked with top artists such as Barbra Streisand, Ray Charles, Tina Turner, Rod Stewart, Leanne Rimes, Chaka Khan, Gladys Knight, and Dave Koz, to name a few. Recently, he has written for Charisse, Toni Braxton, and Kimberly Locke of American Idol fame, and many more. He has also written for television. All in all, he has 65 million records sold worldwide. He was nominated for 2 Academy Awards, 2 Grammys, and 2 Golden Globes. He has also won nominations for 2 more Grammys and a Soul Train Award for artists singing his songs. In March of 2016, the Grammy Museum honored both Jud and his long-term songwriting partner, Allan Rich, with a special night celebrating their career, spanning over 25 years. In addition to writing songs, Jud owns a professional recording studio in which he plays, arranges, engineers, and produces records and demos. He also coaches and guides young, aspiring writers and performing artists in what is needed to be successful in the music business. Allan Rich is a 2-time Academy Award, Grammy, and Golden Globe nominee whose songs have sold, again, over 65 million copies. He has written hits for Natalie Cole, James Ingram, Whitney Houston, Kenny Loggins, NSYNC, Barbra Streisand, Rod Stewart, Luther Vandross, Dolly Parton, Patti LaBelle, Gladys Knight, and Barry Manilow, to name just a few. Allan Rich is a native of Brooklyn, New York, and knew from a very young age that he wanted to be in the music industry. He started out performing with his brother in a song and dance routines, and as a freshman in high school, he was accepted as a member of an ensemble of actors for the Board of Education radio station in New York City. He went on to win a coveted position to study in with the New York Television and Theater Workshop in Lincoln Center. After winning a few talent contests as a singer, his parents agreed to provide vocal, dance, and acting lessons. He also started writing songs and moved to Los Angeles after publishing his first song and meeting other ASCAP songwriters such as Steve Dorff, who we know, who was our first songwriter to perform in this series, in this concert series last year. During the day, he would write songs, and during the night, he did what all aspiring showbiz dreamers do when they hit LA. He was a waiter. He also sold shoes on the boardwalk at Venice Beach. It was there that he met record producer Howie Rice, and within a year, those still selling shoes, he had 2 songs on Patti LaBelle's platinum record, a #1 R&B hit for Gladys Knight, the theme song to the movie Outrageous Fortune, and 3 songs co-written with Barry Manilow for his Manilow record. Allan was soon signed with Welk Music, MCA Music, EMI, and BMG Music. In 1989, he was introduced to Jud Friedman, and the first song they ever wrote together became a #1 hit. It was James Ingram's I Don't Have the Heart. And the rest, as they say, is history. 25 years later, they are still writing songs together, and they are still great friends. We are so fortunate to have both of them with us tonight to share their music and their stories. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jud Friedman and Allan Rich.
We have nothing else to say now. She covered everything pretty much. She told all our war stories. We're done. Thank you and good night. Well,
I don't know whether I should be singing songs or singing my Haftarah.
and so we're going to go with our Haftarahs. We decided. Thank you and good night. Is this? Can you guys hear? Everybody can hear everything? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. We were gonna start by saying it's great to be back here on the Bima, but it's not really a Bima anyway. Yeah. Okay. So, thank you for having us. For those of you guys who've been patiently waiting for this since the beginning of March, which show was canceled. It was originally supposed to happen in March. Thank you for your patience. And again, I'm very, very sorry. I was very sick at that time. Couldn't show up, but we're here tonight. So. Let's start out with the first, she already told you, the first song we ever wrote. Ended up being a #1 hit for James Ingram.
But let me just say that
it's a great story.
Jud's publisher, Kathy Scamberger, was a friend of mine. And she called me and she said, I'm about to sign this guy, and I think the 2 of you would have magic together. Now, that was a time when really publishers would really try to help songwriters matchmake, and they really cared about great songs and everything. And little did she know how right she was, because the first song we ever wrote was a #1 song. And I mean, she just had great instincts. And you want to say anything more about it?
She called me. I was actually living at a friend's house. I was in between apartments, and all I had was a little keyboard with an RCA cable going to a stereo, if you remember the old stereos. And she called. She'd been talking to Allan about meeting me and talking to me about meeting him. We always were not quite, we wanted to, but it hadn't connected. And she said, Allan, do you have anything for Jud? Where's the song?
And I said, I have a verse.
He said, I'm not ready.
I don't want to give it to him unless it's finished. She said, no, you're giving it to him right now.
He called me, and he read me the verse and chorus to this song called I Don't Have the Heart, and I almost fell off my chair. It was so great. So then I just said, goodbye, I'm going to go write it. And it was one of those songs that just kind of popped out very, very quickly. I called him back and said, get over here, you got to hear this. I think it's really cool. And we finished it together, and within 6 days we had the demo done, and then we started playing it for people. And one of those people...
Well, a songwriter has to be a detective, amongst a lot of other things. And I somehow got James Ingram's home address. And so I coldly sent him a cassette. Remember cassettes? And about a year later, I get a call. And I say, who is this? He said, it's James Ingram. He said, I've been on the road with Quincy Jones. I'm back in town. I have a box here of 400 cassettes. There's only one song in this whole box that made me cry. And it's your song. And I promise you, I'm going to record it. And he did.
And he did. And then he called me up. I went over to his house and I played keyboards. And then he invited us, Tom Bell was a famous record producer, invited us over they both invited us to several of the sessions. The first one was a big string session, which is the first session I've ever been to, which they were recording about 30 string players. It was really exciting. But at that time, it was just James's voice, my piano, and the strings. And we thought, oh, they're going to overdub all the other parts of the song. They're going to make it a full production. So we were in the studio working on another song, and someone ran in with a cassette. This was before fire was invented. And said, you got to hear it. We got the mix of I Don't Have the Heart, James' version of I Don't Have the Heart. And we ran out of the session, we popped it into a cassette player, and we started listening, and it was the exact same arrangement. It was just like the demo, which was just piano, voice, and strings. Which, for those of you who are songwriters, or even if you're not, if you listen to the radio, there aren't a lot of songs with just piano and vocal. Adele occasionally gets away with it. Once in a while, something big pops. But even then, which was in 1990, we thought, oh, this is the kiss of death. It's never going to do anything, because they didn't produce it. Until it came on the charts and started going like this, up one chart, and then it went up the other side of the chart.
It was #1 adult contemporary, and then it crossed over to the pop charts. But I, as you'll find out I'm a kind of self-deprecating person a little, and I just didn't have faith that it would go to #1 on the pop charts. And I said, James, I just don't think we're going to #1. There's Black Cat with Janet Jackson, all these other songs, and James says, ye of little faith, where's your faith? He said, I'm telling you, we're going to #1.
And then, we did.
And then James called me, and we brought you the actual message of James doing the
Allan actually recorded the voice, kept the voicemail.
Yeah, you have
It
it?
was something like this. So that was the story of that one. So this is called I Don't Have the Heart. Oh, let's see if you guys can hear everything. Let us know, okay? Your face is beaming. You say it's 'cause you're dreaming of how good it's going to be. You say you've been around, and now you've finally found everything you wanted and needed in me. Well, I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I wanna do, but I don't have the heart to love you. Not the way you want me to.
Inside, I'm dying to see you crying. How can I make you understand? I care about you so much, about you. I'm trying to say this as gently as I can, 'cause I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I wanna do, but I don't have the heart.
I don't have the heart.
I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I wanna do, but I don't have the heart to love you,
Not the way that you want me to.
I don't have the heart to hurt you. It's the last thing I wanna do, but I don't have the heart to love you.
Not the way you want me to.
Not the way you want me to. Thank you.
Can everybody hear everything? You
No.
Okay, because I can't hear myself.
You want to move the monitor, right?
No, it's all right. Okay, as long as you guys can hear. Not too loud. The piano's not too loud. Is everything's cool? Okay, good. So, Allan, take it. Next song.
There's a very legendary film scorer, James Newton Howard. You will see his name on a million movies. He's just legendary.
Million.
And his publisher, Brooke Morrow, called us after The Bodyguard and said, you know, he's doing this film One Fine Day with Michelle Pfeiffer and George Clooney. They need an end title song. We'd like you guys to write it with James. So we got together, we wrote the song, we played it for the bigwigs at 20th Century Fox, and they go, you know, you're going to get nominated for an Academy Award for this song. But not so fast.
The director had gotten attached to a song they were using as temp track. Does everybody know what a temp track is? Maybe not.
They put it in the movie temporarily until they find the song.
They do the music usually at the end of movies. So this was they were just using it to kind of highlight the vibe that they wanted for that scene. And it was a Van Morrison song. And the director was like, you know, this Jud and Allan song is nice, but I really like this Van Morrison. So James Newton Howard, our co-writer on the song, was working with an artist named Rod Stewart. And he said, you know, I'm going to play for Rod. Let's not wait for these bozos, let's play for Rod. So he played for Rod. Rod said, yep, let's go cut it. So they went off and recorded the song. And it was great, we were thrilled.
Not so fast.
Not so fast. Next step, the director calls.
I've changed my mind. I want the song, but I want it for Kenny Loggins.
No, he wanted Rod Stewart.
That's
Welcome to the
original.
music business. He wanted Rod Stewart's, and they called the Rod Stewart's people, said, okay, you can have it for $500,000.
Right.
Which even now sounds like a lot of money, and there's a ton of money, and back then was, you know,
But
tons of money.
The record was going to be on Kenny Loggins' label, and they were trying to boost his career. So, though Rod Stewart recorded it, they wanted Kenny Loggins. And let's put it this way, there was some drama. But when the dust settled,
And the lawyers left the room.
correct, that's true.
We were still standing.
And we were shaking. We were nervous wrecks.
He was shaking.
I just shake. But Rod Stewart had it on his greatest hits record. He couldn't release it as a single. And Kenny Loggins had it in the movie. He had a #1 adult contemporary song for it. And we got nominated for an Oscar, a Grammy, and a Golden Globe.
Yeah. So, sometimes things actually kind of work. But the code of that story is that when your song is potentially nominatable for a Golden Globe, the Golden Globe people, which is the Hollywood Foreign Press Association, they have these days where all the people who are interested in trying to get nominated for films in whatever categories come in and talk to them and get interviewed. And actually, in the case of music, they do the performances of the songs. So Kenny Loggins and a really great piano player, is a friend of ours named Robbie Buchanan, came in and did, for the first time, our song. And they did it live with just piano and vocal, and that was it. He did it once, and then a bunch of more people came in, and second round of people came in. He did it. The guy's unbelievable. I mean, Loggins was amazing. He didn't miss a note. He was just immaculate. And then afterwards, he gets up on stage to take questions about the song. They're interviewing him. These are all reporters, the foreign press. And they say, so Kenny, the first question is like, Kenny, so when you were writing this song, and so what happens, Allan?
You can tell it.
Okay.
We sound like a married couple, except he's got a fabulous
We are a
wife.
married couple. He's my music wife. My real wife is sitting right there. He says, wait a minute, I usually do write my own songs, but in this case, I didn't write this one. And in fact, 2 of the 3 writers are sitting right here in the audience. Jud and Allan, why don't you guys come up here on stage with me? What? I mean, what
He was
star
such a
does
mensch.
that? He was, cynical.
He
He really
was.
should be here with us today because he was such a mensch. Anyway, he's a great guy. We loved his version.
And this is for the
This is
first
the
time.
song.
Are those your eyes? Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands holding mine? I wonder how I could have been so blind. For the first time, I am looking in your eyes. For the first time, I'm seeing who you are. Can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand what love is. Love is for the first time.
Can this be real? Can this be true? Am I the person I was this morning? And are you the same you? It's all so strange. How can it be? All along this love was right in front of me. And for the first time I am looking in your eyes. For the first time I am seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand what love is. Love is for the first time.
Such a long time ago, and giving up on finding this emotion ever again.
But you're here with me now. Yes, I found you somehow. And I've never been so sure. And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes. For the first time, I'm seeing who you are.
I can't believe how much I see
When you're looking back at me, now I understand what love is. Love is
for the first time.
for the first time. Once in a while he looks over at me towards the end of the song and I keep thinking he's going to say for the 3rd time or 4th, because whenever we're rehearsing it we make up silly things. For the 11th time. Okay.
No, it's for the last time.
For the last time. Let's see what's next in the hit parade. Second song you ever wrote.
This was the second song we ever wrote. It was recorded by an incredibly great singer named Olita Adams. And this is, you have a lot of songs in your catalog, but this is one of the songs that people who know our catalog come over and they say to us, you know, my favorite song of yours is I Just Had to Hear Your Voice. And you know, I think maybe it's because Jud and I really strive to write songs that move and touch people. And so maybe we hit a nerve with somebody. But, you know, this is a very, very quiet, small little song about a late night conversation. And Alita Adams recorded it, and then she did a video.
And once again, an incredibly brilliant
singer.
Brilliant, well, great singer, brilliant concept, which I can say because it was Allan's. And she did a version of it. She didn't want, I produced, and Allan was involved in a lot of arrangements as well, and she didn't want us to be involved in the actual making of the record, which sometimes is great, sometimes isn't so great. So she did a version of it that was, we think, beautiful, but very loungy, and it kind of limited the commercial potential, we thought, of the song, but it's gorgeous. But one thing they did that was fantastic is we had done it as, for you songwriters in the audience, an AABA song, which means verse, release section, come back to another verse, and end the song. So it was about 8 seconds long, basically. A little short. And then she very wisely repeated the release section. She did a kind of a modified version of it first, and then she did a longer version of it later. So it was a really, really cool idea. And it actually enhanced I think, the beauty of the song even more so.
And it was a #1 adult contemporary song, and she did get nominated for Soul Train Award.
Yeah, I think that was one of the nominations. So, and this is called
I Just Had to Hear Your Voice.
Thought it best that we spend a little time apart, but one night without you is too much for my heart. I know I promised not to call, sorry, but I didn't have a choice. I just had to hear your voice. I had to know that you're okay. I couldn't get to sleep this way, feeling this way. Please don't be mad at me, 'cause I really did the best I could. Not to dial your number, but it didn't do much good. Hung up the phone so many times till I didn't have a choice. I just had to hear your voice. I had to know that you're okay. I couldn't get to sleep this way, feeling this way, and I had to hear you say hello. I had to, because I love you so. You thought it best that we spent a little time apart, but I had to hear your voice. Though I know it wasn't right, I just had to hear your voice. Good night. compromise we got here. Okay? Yeah, we're okay.
We're
probably not going to have to. We're probably not going to have to pad it with the Haftorah after all.
Okay.
I think we'll be okay. What would you say?
I said you can start talking about this
I
song.
can? Okay, thank you. What is this one? Oh,
After the Rain.
After the Rain. Oy. Okay. There's an oi factor in this one. So, we feel this should have been our third Oscar nomination, and we're mad as hell, and we're not going to take it anymore. There you go. Allan had a friend. Well, you talk about this.
I went to college
your friend.
with a guy named Allan at Queens College in New York. And he became a very well-known manager and then film producer. And every time I'd see him, I'd say, you know, we should do something together sometime. And he says, well, I'm about to produce a movie. Let me suggest you guys to the film company. And the next thing we know, we got a chance to write a song for this movie. And, you know, we played it for all the executives in like a round table. You know, and it was like, just like you would see in the movies. We played them the song just cold with just, you know, was it a little track we had?
Yeah, just a work tape with me singing. Yeah. And they just loved it.
They were stunned afterwards. It was like a moment that you dream about. And
the film was a potpourri of like huge stars at the time. Gerard Butler was in it.
And
Just before he fell off the wagon, just became a, you know, kind of like another Gerard Butler movie that's going to flop. Catherine Zeta-Jones, Jessica Biel. I mean, it was really, and some up-and-coming stars. It sounded on paper like it was going to be this huge thing.
It was called Playing for Keeps. It was a soccer movie.
And then,
go ahead.
So and the film company just assumed they're going to position it in the film so that it could be nominated for an Oscar. Now, to be nominated for an Oscar, it has to be in the body of the film. It has to be written for the movie, which it was.
Specifically.
And then it has to be in the body of the movie, or it has to be an end title. They had recently changed the rules so that if you had more than one end title is the music that's playing as you're getting up in your chairs, you see the credits. If there was a second end title, that couldn't be nominated because the feeling was, and probably rightfully so, everybody's already out in the theater, you know, throwing out their popcorn. And that was fine. But the producers of the film had decided they wanted to use another song as the first end title. And they were going to put our second, and they weren't going to find a place for it in the movie. They were set with their cut of the movie. So the director and the other people we knew at the film company, we were all sort of up in arms. And we actually went and used digital technology and showed them 3 or 4 different places we thought it could be used. We were beautifully in the movie. And they kept saying, yeah, we love this. And the producers would keep saying, no, we're not going to use it. So they did. So there goes that third nomination.
And the movie bombed, and our song was not eligible to be nominated.
And there you go. But we still like the song. It sounds. Don't be sad. We're still fine. We're okay.
But you know, this is what happens. As you all know, there's so much disappointment. Even with the most beautiful, wonderful song, you can still.
Not that we're saying this one is the most beautiful.
No, but it's a nice song that no one really got to hear. So you're going to get to hear it.
And you can use it for your movie, and when you do, put it in the right place. That's the moral of the story. Always put our songs in the movies. What's it called?
After the Rain. Always looking for the next score. I was always looking for the next door to take me to the promised land. Yeah, that's where I was going. I was always there with you, I just didn't know it. Sometimes you have to lose it all to know how much you had, how hard you had to fall. I will never lose you again. I couldn't take the pain. The sun shines brightest after the rain. Thought I was a dreamer, but I was shines brightest after the rain.
After the rain,
The sky is so much clearer.
after the rain,
I need to be near you.
all the mistakes I made in my life, finally I got it right.
Sometimes you have to lose it all to know how much you had, how far you had to fall.
I would never lose you again. I couldn't take the pain.
The sun shines brightest after the rain.
After the rain. That should be in somebody's movie. Okay.
Okay, this next song, for two Jewish boys, we wrote a gospel song. We've written several. And to be perfectly honest, I don't do it very often, but occasionally I write a lyric for myself to try to pep myself up if I'm feeling blue, if I'm feeling whatever kind of feeling. And so I was feeling really down. And so I wrote this whole lyric. Jud, of course, he's a fantastic editor, and he edited this lyric, but most of it was there.
No, actually, this one I don't think I touched.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But who remembers?
So great.
I was living
It was
so who
before.
remembers?
It was before Fire, actually. So.
But I was really blue, and I wrote a lyric to God to help me. And I wrote the lyric, I presented to Jud, and Jud initially said, you know, who's going to record a song with God in the title? And he took the lyric home, and you can tell the rest of the story.
Well, I was walking around with it for about 6 months, and I thought, it's amazing, which you're about to find out. But, wow, I don't know, I just, you know, this is the music business, so our job was to write songs and get people to record them. I thought, this is a brilliant lyric, but if I write music to it, who's going to record it? And then, seriously, okay, and this is not like, we're from LA, well, we're from New York originally, but this is not like ooey gooey, but we are in a synagogue, so if you're watching. One day, I came home, I had it in a briefcase, I had the lyric, I'd just been walking around with it day after day and just not thinking about it, and something made me open the briefcase. I had a little home studio, I walked into the studio, and I sat down and looked at the lyric, and 10 minutes later the song was done. And I called Allan, it was one of those again, I said, I think we got something here, and it was very inspired, and just poured out. And then we actually had not one, but two very big artists interested in it, sort of battling over it. Aretha Franklin and Ray Charles. And Ray won. It was Benny Medina versus Clive Davis. And Ray won in that one. And I made the record with a guy named Richard Perry, who's a famous record producer. We sent the track to Ray Charles. You want to take it? Okay, I'm on a roll here. And this is the way Ray Charles worked. He would get in the studio, he wouldn't let us record his vocal, which is the centerpiece of the record, of course. The vocal is always the most important part of the record. So we said, okay. He said, no, I do my vocals by myself with my engineer. So he sends us, he does his vocal, he sends us back one track with a vocal, no alternatives, no other options, just this is my vocal. And honestly, it was a thrill, and still is a thrill to hear him singing the song, but it was kind of like, you know, he missed a lot of the really nice things. That our demo of the song was done with a singer who's incredible. She was out with every major artist. She's one of the greatest background singers ever. Her name is Valerie Pinkston. And she was like, she missed, Valerie did this, and Ray didn't do that. So we called him up, Richard Perry and I, and Richard gets on the phone, and I hear Richard going, oh, okay, but we think maybe the vocal, okay. And I said, what did he say? He said, I've been doing this for 35 years, and that's the vocal, take it or leave it. So that was it. But it's still pretty much a thrill to hear Ray Charles singing.
And I will say this, because it's not airy-fairy, but songwriting really is having a connection with a higher power. And if you're very, very quiet sometimes, you can really, and I remember very distinctly in some of the songs, and I was missing a line, if I was really, really quiet, sometimes I just got something from heaven. And that's what, it's a magical thing. That's why people don't understand songwriters, because they don't have anything tangible until they have this song. But it is a connection with God. It really is. So here's our song, and I hope you'll listen to what made the song special. And it happened totally by accident, and that is the double entendre of the word "So Help Me God," how we use it in the song. Okay?
Which is the title of the song.
Right, so help me God.
And by the way, it's a gospel song. Two nice Jewish boys from New York really can't sing gospel songs, but so forgive us in advance.
I've been led astray. Once again I need your light and love to lead the way. I know I don't deserve it, but I promise it's the end. If you rescue me just one more time, you'll never have to do it again. So help me God, so help me God, so help me God. Help me God, yeah.
It's the truth, I can't tell you a lie.
You're the only one who's been there for me each and every time.
Now I guess it's my turn to prove myself to you. Go ahead, ask me anything at all. That's what I'm going to do. So help me God, so help me God.
So understanding and patient with me. It took me some time, but now I see. Now I see.
I am awake. Now I have been found.
You can count on me forevermore. Never gonna let you down. So help me God, so help me God, so help me God. Help me God,
Help me God,
help me God,
so help me
God. Help me God,
help me God.
just help me. Help me God. Help me God. Ooh, yeah.
Hope you're listening.
Oh,
Okay.
he did help me.
Next tune. You start with this one, Donnie.
You know, it was always funny because he would always call me Darling. People would look at him and say, Darling. But that's just our thing. So
let's tell them the story.
Huh?
It was from Saturday Night Live with Barbra Streisand years ago when they did Barbra Streisand sketches, and they would say like butter, and they'd call one another darling. So for some reason we started calling one another darling, and it stuck.
Yeah.
And one of the funniest moments actually, should we tell the story?
About
Jason.
Jason?
About
Which story is it?
Jason?
Yes.
Okay, tell it. Sure.
We were making a record with this. It doesn't have anything to do with this next song. We were making a record with writing songs for a record for a guy named Jason Gould.
Barbra Streisand's son.
Barbra Streisand's son, and a few of our songs ended up on it. This was one of the songs actually we were working on that day, not this one, but the one I'm talking about, the story. And
Oh, I remember the story.
yeah. So we're sitting in the studio writing with him, and I keep saying darling, and he keeps saying darling, darling, but darling, I don't know, darling. So after about an hour, there's a pause, and Jason goes, this is Barbara's son. He says, why do you guys call one another darling? And we were like, I don't know if we can tell him the story. Oh, it's just an old, so we never told him. So if he hears this somehow, we're taping this, right? Can you delete that from the video? Anyway, it was a funny moment. All right, so this next, talk a little darling.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is, there's always songs, the ones that got away. This is one that we always felt should have been a very big hit. And it was recorded, but it never really saw the light of day.
By a very nice artist.
Yes. But Shaka Khan recorded it for her greatest hits record, and she did a good job. And of course she's an incredible singer, but she just, I don't think she took it over the top. And so we still, even till this day, we wrote it so many years ago. But we felt we would play it for you tonight because it's the one that we say got away.
One of the ones that got away.
Right, there's been
They're
several.
all our babies, but this one has a special place in our heart. Very simple song. It's called Your Love Is All I Know. And David Foster also recorded. What was
Yes,
his
he did.
name?
I forgot her name. Also, as you can tell, we write songs for real singers that we have to hit all these high notes. So,
In my mind, I only see your face, and time will not erase what I feel for you in my heart. It was always you and me. That's how I thought it would be, forever and ever. Where do I go? What do I do? After all that we've been through, how do I turn around? Just turn around and watch you go. When baby, your love is all I know.
the touch of your hand, the warmth of your embrace. I always had a place here in your arms. I felt so secure, I didn't need anything more. Where do I go? What do I do after all that we've been through? How do I turn around and watch you go? 'Cause baby, your love is all I know. Tell me how can you walk away and find somebody new? I just want to say, really, Jud and I, I'll speak for both of us, but we really appreciate you coming out. And we have 2 more songs left for you. But we so appreciate
Gave
that.
it away.
Well, so you have to clap after the last one so we can come back and sing one more. Okay?
Put your cell phones, throw hotel keys. Only my wife can do that.
And this song was written
Keys in the car.
by another Jewish guy with us, Dave Koz, the fabulous saxophone player. And we wrote several songs for many of his records. And he asked us to come. He was in San Francisco living for a while, and we flew up and we wrote this song. This song is an art song, more of an art song than a commercial song, but I think it's got a special quality about it. And it's, you know, I just think it's got something that hopefully will move and touch you.
It's another one that seems to be one of our, whenever we play the song live, it's always something that connects with people. It has a special place in our heart also because, our hearts, because the person Allan mentioned,
Who introduced us,
Kathy Spanberger at Peer Music, asked us to play it at her wedding back in the day, and so we did. And for all you songwriters and the artists, this song is in 9/8 time, which is very weird. So,
and also, I'm going to say this, it sounds a little cliche and a little gooey, but Jud and I will both dedicate, because it's called That's the Way I Feel About You, and you made us feel so nice tonight. So that's the way we feel about you tonight. There are roads that can take you to places that you've never been. There are people, when you meet them, it's like they have lived inside your skin. There are souls you connect with so strong, a bond that's so deep and so true. That's the way I feel about you.
There are times, like a magnet, you're drawn into somebody's life. Yeah, you don't know what you're doing or why you are there, but you know it's right. There's a sense that the piece that was missing is suddenly coming to view, and that's the way I feel about you.
I believe in this world there is nothing that happens by chance.
There's a reason that at just this particular moment you came into my hands.
Like a gift that you never expected, but you'll treasure your whole life through.
That's the way
I feel about you.
That's the way I feel about you.
Ooh, That's the way I feel about.
That's the way I feel about.
That's the way I feel about you.
Well, that's it. That's all, folks. Thank you. Now we can go on and do the audience come back.
We'll just sit here and do our last one. Yeah. It's okay.
And then we're going to cry if you didn't applaud. And we're going to hold up applause signs. Anyway, here we are. Okay.
You start talking now.
All right. Okay.
I'm not answering a phone call or anything. It's just I have a message that I'm going to play.
Oh yeah. So we hear from our publishers that Whitney Houston, who is at the time the biggest artist, recording artist, and probably one of the biggest stars, definitely one of the biggest stars in the world, is making a movie called The Bodyguard, and they're looking. It's a musical. And they're looking for music for it, looking for songs. And they have 4 songs. Every publisher in the world, every songwriter in the world gets this. Every songwriter they felt like contacting gets this brief saying we need songs for this and this and this. This is why we do this stuff in the co-writing class, you guys, okay? And it says we need these songs. So Allan and I decided we were going to write a song. They wanted a song about breaking up, breakup song. So we write this song, and we feel pretty good about it. And we sent it to Clive Davis, who's Whitney's record executive.
He's one of the most powerful people in the music industry. Legendary, like Louis B. Mayer in the film business. That's Clive Davis.
So you want to play a little voicemail?
You tell him the story.
Okay, so he calls us and he says, we love the song. And Whitney loves it, I like it, we can hear a little voice message. And then he says, this is how this stuff works. So we think, oh, we're on Easy Street, this is amazing. Then he says, but we'd love to, could you make it sound a little more like a Whitney Houston record?
Because it was a piano vocal.
It was a very simple demo. And actually it was such a simple demo that once in a great while, when I'm playing, I just kind of feel that it should go up and down tempo-wise, and I shouldn't be structured with a click track, which keeps it in perfect time. And this was one of those songs, just kind of feeling it, and I didn't want to put it in perfect time, it just felt so good. So I sent him a really simple demo, and he goes, we love it, but can you make it sound like a Whitney Houston song? So now this is the entertainment business. The most sophisticated lawyer, brilliant businessman, most successful record executive ever. He says, make it sound like a Whitney Houston record. So we said, what do you mean by that? Oh, I don't know, like a Whitney Houston record. So we said, oh yeah, okay, like a Whitney Houston record. So Allan and I went, what are we going to do? So all we could think of was he wanted it to be more fully produced, like she would do. So we went in, and it was very tricky because, as I just told you, it was out of time. So it was like, I want to run to you, and it's very up and down.
And so to add a drum to it, which is what we did, to try to make it work when it was so out of time, it just took over 4 hours.
4 hours.
Just to try to do a drum track.
Bar by bar to make it sort of...
And even when we sent it to Clive, you could hear it going slower and faster.
No, but he bought it, and he went, no, we love it, it's in, right? And so we think, God, this is amazing.
Not so fast.
Not so fast. There's always an asterisk. Then we're in the studio actually making the Ray Charles record, So Help Me God, and the phone rings, and it's Mick Jackson, who is the director of The Bodyguard. Really sweet British guy, and he goes, hey, we love the song, it's so great, and, everything's fantastic, there's just this one little thing.
And this is what he said, literally. It wouldn't be a really big deal to rewrite the whole lyric, right?
So
that's
now,
what he literally said.
For you songwriters in the audience, what did we respond?
No problem.
No problem.
And then we hung up the phone and we thought our life was over.
We fell down and the defibrillator comes out,
and Clive Davis calls us and said, rewrite the lyric. I heard about Mick calling you. Rewrite the lyric, send it to me first before you send it to them for approval. And we rewrote it.
Oh, and he also says, but don't worry too much about it.
Yeah.
because if it doesn't end up in the movie, because he wanted us to change it from a breakup song to a falling in love song. He said, look, it's such a hit song, Clive says. If it doesn't end up in the movie, we'll put it on her greatest hits record, which is coming out in a year, That sounds good, right? We got off the phone and we said,
No way.
no freaking way. This is Whitney Houston, biggest star right now, movie, it's gonna be humongous. And by the way, the greatest hits record came out 9 years later. So, yeah, so we were like, we gotta make this
Now, I
work.
hope you can hear this, let's see. But this was one of the, I kept all my cassettes from the, remember we had those little answer machines? I used to, every time anybody famous called, I used to take the cassette out and put a new one in its place.
You want to tell the story about the session with her, by the way, or no?
Oh, we can. I mean, since this is the last song, we were here we were, two songwriters in the recording studio with Whitney Houston, Kevin Costner, David Foster, and the head of film music.
And all their entourages also. All their
Gary
teams.
Lamel.
And I was making
and
the record.
Whitney, of course.
with- yeah.
And Jud, listen, I can say a lot of things about him because I know him for a long time. Besides being a very honest and a fair and a good human being,
Oh,
he's a great, no, seriously, a lot of great qualities he has.
Stop.
He was very brave. Because, was it Whitney who said, Whitney says, or was it David Foster? David Foster says, Jud, why don't you go in the vocal booth and do a scratch vocal for Whitney? He had to sing the scratch vocal
The scratch
in front of
vocal
Whitney
is
Houston.
a guide vocal, so she can hear if she forgets
I
the
said,
melody.
thank God you didn't ask me because I know I'd have gotten every note wrong from being so nervous. Judd did a great job and they applauded when he finished, right?
I think they applauded just because I got through it. Not as, he actually sang it in her key. No.
Anyway, let me see if I can play you this Clive Davis message. Let's see if you can hear it.
Pretty cool. Yeah, we reached it, for sure. And by the way, we write songs for singers, as Allan was saying, and we've worked with a lot of okay singers and not so good singers and very good singers and extremely good singers, and we've been really blessed to work with some really great singers. And then there's Whitney Houston, who was in a totally different league. I mean, she was this strata, and then she was just in a different ballpark. I mean, everything she sang, I was making the record with her and producing the vocal, and she kept saying, Jud, am I doing this right? And I was kind of like, well, not quite the way I envisioned it, but it's all so great. Every mistake was so amazing. So her, and then my favorite male vocalist I've ever had the privilege of working with was James Ingram.
Right.
So we worked with, and both of them sadly are gone. James passed away recently. I don't know if you're aware of that, but we miss you guys. They were really, really fantastic artists and great people too.
And before we sing the song, Whitney invited us to her video shoot. You remember the scene? Our song was when she was wearing that white flowing outfit with her long hair,
Running through the clouds.
running through the clouds, and we came onto this humongous cavernous set. It was just,
It's like a city.
it was like humongous, and Whitney was so gorgeous. I mean, really gorgeous. And there in the corner was a girl who we thought was Whitney standing there. And we go, Jud. I said, Jud, look at her. She's even more beautiful than Whitney. Look at this girl. She must be a stand-in. All of a sudden, she turns around, and Whitney goes, Jud, Allan, hi. And it was actually Whitney Houston looking even more gorgeous than I had ever seen. Really, she was one of the most breathtakingly beautiful people and talented. She had all the it factors that made her, that special person. Unfortunately, she had some, we all have our demons, and she had some that took her away from us. But the body of work that she had, when you listen to her greatness, there's very few people who can touch her. So this is our version of Run to You. We're not Whitney Houston, but we are the writers of the song.
And it's still the biggest soundtrack album of all time, by the way. And one of the biggest albums of all time. And there won't be any album sales anywhere near this, obviously with streaming, so it was a good one to be on.
Thank you for being here with us.
Yes.
We love to perform for you. Thank you for choosing events. You guys, we love you, and you made this happen. And Karen, thank you for putting this together with all your staff.
And sister,
all the assistants.
I can't remember your name. I'm so terrible with names. I can't remember my own name now.
But you made it, I mean, you worked so hard to make it beautiful and sweet and nice.
Thank you guys.
And all of you were so nice to us, so thank you. And
we're not going anyplace, darling. We're still going to be here.
okay.
We're still doing a Q&A, but
Oh, I
thank you
forgot about
preliminarily.
I know that when you look at me, there's so much that you just don't see. But if you would only take the time, I know in my heart you'd find, oh, a man who's scared sometimes, who isn't always strong. Can't you see the hurt in me? I feel so alone. I wanna run to you. Ooh, I wanna run to you. Take me in your arms, keep me safe from harm. I wanna run to you. But if I come to you, will you stay, or will you run away?
Each day I play the role of someone who's always in control. But at night I come home and turn the key. There's nobody there, no one cares for me. Whoa, what's the sense of trying hard to find your dream without someone to share it with? Tell me, what does it all mean? I wanna run to you. Ooh, I wanna run to you. Hold me in your arms and keep me safe from harm. I wanna run to you. Ooh, but if I come to you, ooh, tell me, will you stay or will you run away? Run away. I need you here, I need you here to wipe away my tears, to kiss away my fears. If you only knew how much I wanna run to you. Ooh, I wanna run to you. Won't you hold me in your arms and keep me safe from harm? I'll run to you. But if I come to you, ooh, tell me, will you stay? Or will you run away? Thank you.
We're here.
Okay.
Is there a mic?
Yes, there's a mic.
Yep. It's even on.
That may not be
Hello, everybody. I'm Vance Marino, and I'm going to be asking them a few questions, and then we're going to open it up to Q&A. Okay, so...
Hi, Vance.
Hello. Thanks for being here, guys. What is your process? Clive Davis calls, leaves a message on your answering machine. It says, write a song for Whitney Houston. What's the first thing you do?
I go in the bathroom and I scream. I asked John a lot of times.
And that's not all he does.
No. Well, I think the first thing we try to do is come up with a concept that will fit the idea they're looking for, but doing it in kind of a, it can't be in a cliche way. It has got to be in some unique point of view about it. Yeah. So I think that's the first thing we do.
We try to start with the foundation for us. Most of the time is an idea, a concept that's a little bit like everything else, because everything's been written. I mean, all art and entertainment for the most part fall into certain generic concepts, not generic, but conceptual groups. I love her, I hate her, I miss her, I want her, I don't want her, go away, come back, I hate you, I like you. So you have to find, if it was called I love you, Whitney, people would have gone, what? But it's a little bit
of course, there's always sometimes like, I will always love you. That is the most...
Yes, there are always exceptions to every rule.
Joe Cocker's You Are
You're
So Beautiful,
which is one of my favorite songs.
Right, and it's so simple, but, in order to get noticed...
Most part.
You have to try to write something that says something in a way that someone else hasn't quite said.
And just emotionally taps it. So we try to start with a core. And we knew that at that time, the funny thing is, we wrote the song, Allan wrote the lyric actually, for the most part, the original lyric, which was, I want to run to you, but you're not there to run to anymore, because it was a breakup.
The original lyric I thought was even a better lyric. And we just had a sacrifice, because the original lyric was, I want to run to you, just like I always did before, come knocking at your door. I want to run to you, how I want to come to you, but you're not there to run to anymore. That was the original chorus, and it was so powerful, but then when we had to rewrite it, that's what we had to do. And we had to sacrifice it, but it ended up working out okay.
Pretty okay.
So it sounds like you're lyric driven first. So then, does the music come simultaneously with the lyrics, or does that come after the lyrics are complete?
We've done it a lot of different ways. Our relationship started when I was a lyricist. Jud is a very good lyricist. And of course, the melody writer, but he really is ambidextrous, if I could say, music and lyrics. I'm more of a lyric person with a very good melody and editing sense. And Jud and he looks at me, listen, it still hurts when you want people to love your idea, but we throw ideas out, and Jud always says, here's the garbage pail. If we don't like it, we just throw it in the garbage. But I throw out an idea.
I thought I was kidding about that.
And I throw out an idea, and I'm just nervous because I want them to like it. But half the time, it's like, not good enough. But so it started off as a lyric, and here's for the songwriters in the audience. And I always say this, and I really mean it. I would always be so shy when I gave a lyric to Jud, because on a page, it's very flat. It's just lines on a page. But when you have the right collaborator, he elevates your lyric. He makes me look like I'm genius sometimes. And that's what a magic collaboration is about. But I'm always apologizing for my lyric, because, I always think should I make you laugh? I'll just say the truth. I always call myself a missionary position songwriter, because I'm very traditional.
You can edit that out, too.
But that's true. But Jud would always take my lyric, and he would always make it look special. And but then eventually, Jud would come up with a melody, and I would hear something, or he would come up with it. He was very good at coming up with titles as well. Or sometimes we got a track that we had to come up with. There's so many different ways to do it.
As time went on, when we were writing a lot more, and there was more time pressure, a lot of times Allan wouldn't go off and write a lyric, because we would sit in the room with the artist and just come up with something from scratch, based on maybe we'd bring in a basic idea or a melody or whatever, and then we'd all develop it together, or there was something that needed to be done quickly and he didn't have the time to just go off and write a lyric, and that was fine. We work well no matter what.
But the two of you know that sometimes you get a track. Someone gives you now it's very popular, they give you a track and you have to write what they call a top line, which is a melody and a lyric over it. You just have to be available to do it a lot of different ways. And so we've gotten good at doing it a lot of different, different ways when we write together.
Tools in the toolbox.
Right.
Okay, so now we're going to get it a little personal.
Uh-oh.
Well, there had to be at least one gotcha person, right? So, as collaborators, what happens when one of you thinks, well, this is a great idea, and the other one doesn't? How do you settle disagreements?
I have to say, knock on wood, that in all the years that we worked together, I don't think maybe we've had one or two, but I respect him a lot. And I may not like that he doesn't like it, but I really take it under serious consideration.
I don't think we've been very fortunate in that I always say that collaboration is like going out with people. It's like you never know if there's going to be chemistry. And you can sit in the coffee shop, and the person looks amazing on paper, and then you meet and it's like, okay. And we've actually sat with other songwriters, one of whom I'm thinking in particular, who was, many of them, but this guy in particular, one of the greatest songwriters in history. I mean, the string of hits like you wouldn't believe. We sat in the room, the three of us, to write something, and it was just like this. For 2 hours, nothing happened. But with Allan, literally the first time he called me about An Arm of the Heart, it was just instantaneous. So we don't disagree a lot. I mean, I might say, I'm excited about this, and if he says, I don't know, I think it could be better, I'll just stop.
But Jud pushes me. And as he pushes, he has some students here, he does push me. And sometimes I want to, but he doesn't settle for less. And sometimes I'm cliche like everybody else. And then sometimes I say to him, no, I think we could do a little bit better, or something in this melody right over here. But all in all, we've had
we lift one another.
Yes, we're very, very lucky. I think we're built the same way. We're both people with integrity. We're good people. We're moral people, and we want to move and touch people. I think we have the same kind of
sensibility.
Yes.
And we finish one another's sentences.
Okay, so Kathy Spanberger introduced the two of you and teamed you up as a writing team. Have you ever asked her or talked to her about why she did that? What did she see in each of you that she thought would be a good match?
Go ahead.
Yeah, she just knew us. She knew what I did musically and lyrically as well, and she knew Allan's. I think she felt that both of us had similar sensibilities in terms of writing stuff that would be that was aimed to really touch people. I mean, the funny thing is, she knew, because I was developing a relationship with Pure Music, this was before I signed a long-term deal with them, she knew a lot of different sides of my music. But I think the thing that came through to her was that to whatever extent I attempted to be at least very melodic and emotional in the writing. But I wrote, and I still write, all different types of stuff. But she knew Allan's work as well, and she just felt, and she knew him as a person, she felt the two of us would click. And the funny thing is, once you have, this is how this business is, once you have that one song, then everybody wants you to write, like I Don't Have the Heart was a very big hit for us, and then everybody was like, write us another I Don't Have the Heart, right? So we tended to write more ballads and more really serious emotional songs over the years.
I think if we're known for anything, we're known for classic ballads that move and touch people. We've written a lot of other things. We've had dance hits and things, but people don't know us for that. They know us for ballads.
Yes, which makes sense. I mean, it's just that's what happens.
And here's the thing: all the publishers told us. My publisher told me, "Don't write ballads. You can't get them cut." But that's what we did better than most people. So you have to do what instinctually you know you do better than almost everybody else. You just can't. If I wrote a rap song, it would not be authentic, and it would show.
But actually, tonight we were thinking Allan might have to do all his parts as rap parts because he every time before a show he can't talk.
Honestly, you have to do what is authentically right for you, what your calling is, and if you do it really well, somehow, some way, you can get recognized for it.
Did we get off topic on that one? Okay.
So how did each of you learn to write songs?
You want me to go? How did I learn to write songs? Well, I wrote poems first. I tell this, it's true. When I was 8 years old, they published in my school newspaper how I was in third grade. my mother and dad had a baby sister, and so I wrote a poem and they published it. I don't know why they did. And it said, "I have a baby sister who doesn't even have a blister." That was my first. That was my first poem, and it's in the school newspaper. And then when I graduated from high school, I knew that I wrote a poem, and I had it printed. And I handed it out to all the kids at school because I figured I would never ever see them again. It was a very nice little poem. But I started off writing poems and then just gradually morphed them into songs. That's how I started. And plus I listened to music so much, and I listened to so many incredible singers, songwriters, that I just absorbed a lot of it. And so eventually I got I took maybe one class at the new school in New York City in songwriting, but I think I basically knew structure and stuff, and I think you do it often enough and often, you write over and over and over, and eventually, hopefully you get better. And I hope that I have gotten better from, I have a baby sister that doesn't even have a blister.
I'm not sure. That was kind of a peak moment for you. I always wrote songs from the time I was really little, and I just was a music nut. You know, I was that kid who'd walk into the room, and before he turned on the light, I would turn the music on, and I listened and listened and listened, just absorbed everything, and just was always writing. I didn't write poems, I always wrote songs, I always wrote music, but I didn't take classes in it. I've always believed that any way you can learn about anything in life is great by me, but for me personally, to take a class, the classes over the years have been a little bit more traditional a lot of the time. It's kind of like, this is what a song is, let's read about it, let's analyze it, let's talk about a verse and a chorus and a structure, this is the type of song. I've always believed, and this is the way I teach, that it's more about doing it. You talk about why it makes sense and how it works, and then go off and do it, and let's talk about what you're doing, and let's see how we can make it better, and what's working, what's not working. So I didn't have the benefit of that, I wish I had, but I learned by doing. By getting feedback.
Yeah, I think that's true. But also, we both come from, and not that it means anything, but it means something. We both had Jewish parents, and my mother wanted me. My mother and father wanted me to be a doctor. And Jud, you can imagine, because to go to Harvard and Yale and give it all, and he was a practicing lawyer, to give it all up to be a songwriter. We both sacrificed a lot of things when we didn't know whether we'd see the light of day in our careers. Now, my father, may he rest in peace, but he came to me at a certain time in my career before I had had anything, and he said to me, "Allan, I think you gave it your best shot, but I think it's time. I'm worried about you and how you're going to make a living." I was so devastated that my father said that to me, but I knew that he loved me, and but a year later, I had my first success, and I thought, oh my God, if I had listened, you just have to follow your instincts. If I had listened, I probably would have missed the boat. And so I do say that both Jud and I, we've sacrificed a lot and took a chance for success to happen, and most of the time it doesn't, but in our case, we were fortunate enough that it did.
So you each have musical theater backgrounds. So how does that impact your pop songwriting? If at all.
I don't have a musical theater background. I love musicals. I loved a lot of the show songs because my parents used to sing all that stuff, and I grew up listening to a lot of that stuff. I'm not a huge musical theater nut though in general, and I did a lot of acting in high school. I did musical theater in high school, but just those songs were classic songwriting. Cole Porter and Gershwin and Rodgers and Hart and Rodgers and Hammerstein, and even up to a chorus line, Marvin Hamlish. I mean, those guys really knew what they were doing. So when you listen to those songs, they're like lessons in songwriting. How good it can be. So that's why I loved them. But I wasn't a big theater guy.
And I wasn't a big theater guy either, although I did also perform in high school. Musicals. Yeah, but except that in high school we did the. I had 9 lines and forgot all 9 lines every show. It was true. I made up 9 lines every show. And then in college, I was in a college show. I did not remember one line of my whole thing. Some other guy took every single one of my lines because I could not remember a thing. So musical theater was not exactly...
And yet they kept giving him the parts because he was so charming.
But
we know you're not going to remember
really true. I did not it was so embarrassing, and I just would get just much like this. I'm very nervous, even though I'm not a baby, it's a very nerve-wracking thing to get up on a stage and sing and perform for people, no matter how many times you do it. But I didn't have much of a musical theater background, but I do go to the theater a lot. And I wish someone would ask us, and everybody says, well, why don't you write a musical? Because everybody always asks us that. Well, you need a producer and a director from Broadway to come up with you, and you can't just sit down and...
San Diego could be.
Yeah, is there any producers in there? Broadway producers? But no, neither one of us, I don't think, had a big Broadway musical background.
Okay, so let's open it up to questions and hopefully answers. So Cantor Lori will bring the microphone around. Please raise your hand if you have a question for Jud and Allan. Okay.
You had said that some of the songwriters, or one of them, had not sold the song the way you had envisioned it, and yet it was a moneymaker, and it was good for them. But have you ever let that song settle and then shopped for your vision of the song so that the artist would really deliver what you had?
We still, yeah, we still think of that, a few of our songs, and think, we still pitch it when we have the opportunity to. And years ago, years ago, in the 50s and 60s, a recording artist would record a song, and then 3 or 4 other recording artists would have it on the charts as well. You remember those days. Even I Don't Have the Heart was recorded by 2 people. It was recorded by Stacey Lattisaw and James Ingram. And Stacey Lattisaw released it and nothing happened, and James Ingram released it and everything happened. So yes, but yes, we still try with those songs that we think have something. I mean, if we find a place for Your Love Is All I Know, we always pitch it.
Great, thank you.
Good question.
Anyone else have a question?
Oh, it's a very shy crowd. Oh, don't be shy.
I was just wondering how much interaction you had with one of my favorites, David Foster. You mentioned his name, and he's worked also with most of the greats. And I think if you're familiar with Winter, I just said that name. Winter Garden. No, it was the Olympic song that he did. It was such no, Josh Groban wasn't one. No, okay. So go back to that. Did you have much interaction with him or work with him very much?
Yeah.
During The Bodyguard.
I mean, particularly, he's done several of our songs, but I made the record with him during The Bodyguard. In fact, he called me up and said, because he produced Run to You, and he said, can we just use the demo? He loved the demo, and this was the demo that was out of time, if you remember the story. And I said, well, we can't because it's a little out of time. And he went, I felt like it was a little weird. There's something a little weird in it. So I said, but I can remake the whole thing, part by part. So he's amazing. I mean, he's a genius producer.
Yes, he's a genius songwriter too.
Yeah.
It was called Winter Games.
Winter Games, yeah. Yeah, he was great, and he's worked with everybody.
I was just wondering if there are any artists that you haven't written for yet that you would love to write for.
Yeah, about 1 million. So. Anyone good? Right now, or over time, or
Anywhere in time.
The Beatles. But I hear they don't take outside songs. I don't know. I can never think of this.
I would have loved Aretha Franklin to have recorded one of my songs. And of course, everybody wants Beyonce to record one of their songs. But that hasn't happened, and it's too late, unfortunately, for Aretha. But I really always wanted one song to be recorded by Aretha, and we were close. But Ray Charles
was between her and Ray Charles, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing.
So there are just so many. I mean, anyone great you could think of.
And the music industry is so different now that it's so much more track oriented and it's so much more beat oriented. But I mean, we're still out there trying to pitch our songs whenever we can.
Yeah. Thank you.
But when you write a song, do you keep the ownership of it, or do you sell the song? Oh yeah.
Oh, okay. There you are. Yeah. Do we keep the when you write a song? Do you keep the ownership of the song?
Right. Are you able to?
You're going to have to sign up for my business and law class at Los Angeles College of Music, unfortunately, because that's a very long answer. Yeah. Basically, you want to say something? It depends. If you're signed to a publishing deal, then there's a split in ownership between you and your publisher. If you're not signed to a publisher, you own the song when you write it. And are you talking about when you give somebody, when someone records your song, do they get part of the share of the ownership of the song?
No. What if you want to be able to offer it to other artists to be able to record?
Oh yeah. Once there's something called a compulsory license. You can have to sign up for my course. But anyway, once someone has released your song, like for example, after Whitney released, after the day after Run to You came out, anyone had the right to record it without asking our permission. Anyone can do, songs like Yesterday by the Beatles have been recorded by 5 billion people. That's not a coincidence. Anyone can record, any one of you guys can go out and record a version of any of these songs. But then you just have to pay. You just have to pay royalties to the songwriters.
I'm just thinking about, like my publisher, many years ago, after I Don't Have the Heart was the #1 song, was it Weird Al Yankovic? They wanted to do a parody version called I Don't Have the Hair I Used to. And no, seriously. And they came, for a license to our publishers, and my publisher refused. He said he didn't want to bastardize the quality of the song, so he refused to allow it to happen.
No sense of humor.
But it all depends on what kind of deal you have. If you don't have a deal with someone, you own the song. When I was signed to MCA Music, I had 3 different deals, and I can't go into 2. But one deal was an administration deal where you own the copyright. They administer. They take a share for collecting the money. But you own the copyright. Then there were other. I had another deal where they owned the copyright. I owned my publishing, but they owned the right to it. Unfortunately, they owned the copyright to Run to You, which probably would have been worth $1 million if I had owned it myself. But there's a lot of different ways. It all depends on how it falls. It all depends on how successful you are and what you can negotiate. It varies.
Take the class.
Have you ever found yourself in a position where you have an artist that wants to record your song, but you really don't like the way they're doing it? As far as the arrangement, if you're not happy with the arrangement.
There have been a number of times we weren't thrilled over the versions, about the versions that an artist did, but our job was to get songs recorded by artists, and then the chips fall. Listen, when we heard I Don't Have the Heart, we told the story just now, when we heard that it was our demo was just a vocal and piano and strings. And then we heard the final mix of James Ingram record, and it was just like the demo, and we thought, this is a demo, this isn't a record, it doesn't have any production, just like what Clive was asking for. We thought, no, we loved it, but we didn't think it would have any commercial potential. But
the drums came in the very last chorus.
We were wrong.
And Tom Bell,
they knew
legendary, knew something that we didn't know.
So yeah, you just never know. But sure, of course there are times when.
And then half the time we don't even get privy. We're not there when they record it. They take our song, they do what they want. We don't hear it until we hear it on the radio or we hear it on stream or whatever. We don't. Half the time we're not there. So.
But once you give it to an artist, it's their job to make it their own. So.
Right. God, you guys have been so good and quiet. And
I don't think they realized there was wine. That would have changed the night quite a bit. Are there more questions, or is that all, folks?
Any more? One more? Okay. We'll have to end with this because we're running out of time, but yes.
The fire marshals are going to come.
Were there any artists or composers that had a very profound influence on you musically?
So many.
Okay, yes. there's this batch of go-to. Laura Nero, I don't know if you know who she is. She was my all-time favorite. That record, Eli and the 13th Confession, was my most played record in my house. Next after that was Carole King Tapestry. That was my record. That was my jam. And but Ashford and Simpson, I always loved them as well. I'm trying to think of some of the ones that really influenced me. The Carpenters, while everybody was listening to Blood, Sweat, and Tears, I was listening to the Carpenters. I just love them so much, and I want to write great songs and have great singers like Karen Carpenter sing my songs. So that's some of my influences. Who are yours?
So many. Well, the Beatles. I'm a Beatle maniac, so I could sing everything of theirs backwards. So I just, as far as I'm concerned, it could have stopped after them. I mean, I love a ton of stuff, but if you want to know about songwriting and musicality and stuff,
Jimmy Webb also. Oh, I used to love. Oh, I listened to Jimmy Webb a million times.
So many people here. Love him.
I remember where I was. I was in the garage in my friend's car, and he said, "I want you to hear this new guy." And he played me Elton John. Your song.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to faint.
You know what was really cool about that, actually? When Elton John came out, there were no pianos in rock music, and I was a big rock guy. It was all guitar. And I played guitar too, but I was much more of a piano player, and I was thinking, how am I going to do this? It's all guitar. And then he came out, and he was like a rock pop piano player. I was like, yeah, well, maybe this is possible. So
I'm thinking now one of my all-time favorite inspirations, and of course I was fortunate enough to get to work with him. Barry Manilow was one of my all-time inspirational. He wrote him and Marty Panzer wrote the most beautiful songs that I would just play over and over. They moved me, they touched me, they made me feel, I am your child. That song still kills me. It looks like we made it. I mean, all these great songs. That's who I try to pattern myself after, writing those great, and I still, even though it may not be the in thing, I still want to move people. I still want people to feel something. But Barry Manilow was a major influence in my life.
Wonderful. Well, you're in good company because Marty Panzer was here just a few months ago. Yes.
Well, Vance and Tracy did a great job bringing a lot of great songwriters.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So, our incredible thanks to you. Let's hear it for Jud Friedman and Allan.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
So wonderful to have you here. We also want to thank everyone who was involved in bringing this program to you tonight. Karen Goodman-Ingemels, our chairperson, Tracy and Vance Marino, of course, Jeff and Andrea Lizaram, Doreen Markle, David and Grant Ingemels, Jeff Frank, Cliff and Sherry Wilson, Sherry and Steve Reitman, Mark Molbagat, Lorraine Thal, Phil Feinberg, Diane Hillman, and of course our wonderful custodial staff, Matt, George, and Wally. And of course, we thank you for being here and for supporting local music and musicians.